Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.
And what's it gonna do?
It doesn't matter how you're doing. Woo! Wheeling, dealing, limousine right, jet flag.
Can you dig it, sucker?
Would you please shut the hell up?
You don't know what hard times are, Daddy.
The cream will rise to the top. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the human rumble.
What up, what up? Welcome to episode 145 of Keep The Kayfabe. I'm Mike, sitting here with my boys, ready to talk some wrestling. We just came off of this Sunday after seeing Wrestle Dream, the pay-per-view that was rumored to be something special, and boy, oh boy, was it. There was some unbelievable matches, a huge debut from a huge powerhouse star, and then tonight on Dynamite, we see the direction of where this person is going. So let's get into it real quick, but we have to introduce who we're talking to tonight. Over in Glendale, his name is Steve Grobschmidt. What up, Grobby?
Mike, on this day, I see clearly. Everything has come to life. A better place and a broken dream. And we'll leave it all behind.
Nice. Very, very good. He's in a mood tonight, guys. That is very good. We're seeing a very relaxed Steve Grobschmidt.
No,
I think it might be because he just wrapped up his third book in his series. Congratulations, Frau.
thanks, Mang.
Big time.
It's exciting times here in the world of the literary world.
Has the title of the third book been released yet or no?
It is. You can find it online now. It's been released.
Really?
Wow.
Yes.
It's been quite a journey, hasn't it, Steve? How are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling good, Mang. You know, I just oozing machismo, as only a published author can.
You are oozing crap because you're all in brown right now. You're brown from head to toe. You are brown.
Mike.
Yeah,
I don't acknowledge people that haven't been introduced yet.
That's true. Yeah, we're gonna have to get to him. I don't know if I
Or
want
not.
to share this. I don't know if I really want to share this because what the man who just mentioned that Steve's all in brown said, there's this, like, I have a son. He's 18 months old now, and he's really into this guy named Blippy. Have you ever heard of this guy?
No.
He's really annoying, but he goes around to like cool places and like he's just crazy. It's like my son loves him. You can. It's the only way he sits still. But anyway, a little backstory on this guy, Blippy. He actually produced an independent movie where he actually shit on his friend.
Oh my God.
Like, and this is a guy that's actually entertaining children now, but I think he went by like Stevie McFerguson or something crazy, McCrusterson or something like that. He made a movie called Turd Boy, and now he's like making millions of dollars going to like, no, that's the name of the movie. My friend sent me the text. Like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh my goodness.
And like, this is what I'm talking about. You just can't trust a book by its cover or anything. Like, it sucks. But
unless it's part of the
Maybe
Gamma Trita series, of course.
That's true. That's true. You can. That is like par excellence.
Absolutely.
And do you know what? You know who I recently learned is a big fan of my book series? Konosuke Takeshita. He reached out to me this afternoon and said, through a translator, thank you for wonderful science fiction. It means a lot to me as I'm traveling the country and the globe a lot to be able to listen to and watch and listen and read and just enjoy like really good fiction. So thank you, Mr. Takeshita.
Yeah, and thanks for saying his name right. Amazing.
What he really said
Cannot
was,
wait.
"You suck a son."
That's just that's lowbrow. That's lowbrow.
All right. Well, how about this? How about, since he has been chirping a little bit, let's go over to Ohio and visit the man with the golden pipes, Gary Williams. What up, Gary?
It's sexual, baby. All right. And I want to give it all to you. Yeah, right. Oh, I'm here for you, right here for you. So sexual, so sexual. You know, I was
Is that Mark
thinking.
Henry?
It was Mark Henry.
Man.
Matt, that was for you. I could not think of any other scenes in wrestling history where a baby was born other than with sexual chocolate.
Yes.
True.
And so, in my own way, to honor you, I felt it was a necessity to bring out the sexual chocolate man.
Yeah,
and the
because
theme
if
song.
any of our listeners have ever seen me in person, you all think of Mark Henry immediately.
Yeah.
Is immediately what I thought of. I was
And so
immediate.
appropriate. And so appropriate too, since I brought up Turd Boy. Also the sexual chocolate, which Stevie McFerguson or whatever the hell Blippy's alias. I'll send you the text. It's fucking weird. But yeah, Gary, thanks for bringing that up.
Mae is she's looking down on you right now and knowing as she had conceived and bore a sexual chocolate child, you Matt are about to enter that same journey with you and your wife, and we were very excited for you.
Mike, please go ahead and introduce me. This is getting weird, and I just want to move on.
True. All right. He keeps it freshly squeezed, and this might be the last podcast before he becomes a dad and his life has changed forever. We can't wait to talk to him. Matt Michelson. What up, Matt?
Not a whole lot, other than what you just said. I mean, I'm on the edge of my seat. What can I say?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. It will. Hopefully, it's not going to be a hand. We know that. So Mark Henry does have me one up when it comes to that. But we are
minor details.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this on the podcast before. I don't talk a ton about this stuff, but we are actually having twins. My wife Becky's actually made it all the way. We're going in Friday morning. She's going to be having a C-section, and we're going to find out. We do not know if it's boy girl, boy boy, girl girl, identical, fraternal. We know nothing.
It's amazing.
We should take some guesses. Real quick.
Yeah, we can have a Keep the Kayfabe twin pool. I'm open to bets. Let's do it.
All right. Steve, you go first.
In order.
Yeah, brown boy.
Girl boy.
Oh, yeah, order.
Ooh.
Good idea.
Okay.
Girl boy.
What? Girl boy in that order. Nice. Gary?
Boy girl.
Boy girl. Okay. All right. So, kind of this whole time, I've been thinking it's going to be a boy girl situation. But then I was like, nah, it's going to be the same sex. So I'm going to go girl girl. But I'm always wrong with my picks. So I think it's going to be boy boy in that order. Boy boy.
In that order. Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm writing these down.
What do you think, Matt?
Well, I'm not making any guesses because I am
superstitious
when it comes to these things. But I will share with you guys, we really are hoping for a boy and a girl, regardless of the order. So we'll see what happens.
Awesome. So when it's boy, do I get like a special prize though?
I don't know. What do you think it should be?
Babysitting responsibilities.
Hey, there
Something
you go.
like that. I don't know. Yeah, we'll help you out.
You should have to wear Steve's hat and shirt.
Oh, that'd be an honor.
Traumatize the kids.
That's whoa.
Yeah.
If you have two girls, will you name them?
Listeners could
Brie and
only
Nikki?
see how absolutely foolish you look right now.
Cut this man off. Cut this man off.
Someday we're going to make this into a video podcast, and I'm going to re-release this because for our listeners out there, let me just, since this is an audio medium, let me just take a moment to describe what is happening here. So Steve has graced us with an outfit that I can only describe as Val Venus meets Indiana Jones. And it is phenomenal.
And Jinder Mahal.
Jinder Mahal meets Val Venus meets Indiana Jones. I love it.
Pretty good.
With a goatee.
And Mike, if you do win, to Gary's idea, I think, yeah, you can get babysitting responsibilities. I think that's a good prize.
That's wonderful.
only if you show up in Steve's outfit, because I'm sure the neighbors would probably raise some eyebrows if a guy showed up to our door in that outfit, knocked, opened the door and said, "Hey, someone need a babysitter?"
Yeah.
Dude, it's like the new Mary Poppins outfit, except you look like like some kind of porn star. Indiana Jones.
I can't even. I mean, I might turn my camera off. Like,
Is it too much for you? Are you half-mast?
That is, you know what? That is definitely not the problem.
Why don't we get to some wrestling action? And
Sounds
Matt, we
fabulous.
are very proud of you. You're going to be a great dad. Let's loosen it with Wrestle Dream. And this was the first time that AEW rolled a new pay-per-view out other than the Big Four that they put out: Full Gear, Double or Nothing, All Out, and
Revolution or
Revolution.
something? Right?
Yeah. So, yeah, this was interesting. And by the time the show started, like, it didn't really feel like that with MJF starting off the show. I'm going to be quite honest with you. It was just like, yeah, kind of feels like a little WWE-ish a little bit. So I don't know. It didn't really start strong, but it gradually built. And by the time they got to Zack Saber Jr. and Bryan Danielson, I was in, and we were in for some crazy freaking action. Maybe one of the best wrestling matches that ever was. And Matt, I know you were really excited for this one when we talked about it last week. What were your thoughts on it? Would you say?
So, mind about to be blown. I actually still haven't seen this match.
Oh my gosh!
But everything I've heard about it says it's going to be one of those matches that's talked about for years to come. And I saw Bryan Danielson's promo tonight on AEW Dynamite at the time of this recording, talking about how it's a match that he has always wanted to wrestle, and he had the chance to do it in Seattle, his home turf. Super cool. Just based on that premise alone, it just makes me that much more excited for the match. I could say a lot about it, but obviously I haven't seen it. So I'm going to turn it over to one of you guys, but I'd love to hear if there were any spots in this match or just overall, like, what are your thoughts?
I'd be happy to go. I mean, first of all, I'm going to drop this little teaser before I talk about this match. This was my second favorite match of the night. How about that?
Huh.
But that being said, it was an all-timer. It was outstanding. I mean, I honestly, I mean, when you hype the two guys wrestling, as they did, and this is definitely a dream match, I feel like it delivered. There was no disappointment in this match, and it was the pace that is the things that we predicted and talked about. A lot of grapples and trying to get out of them, and these really innovative ways that they transitioned moves and chain wrestling. And the crowd was hot for it. There were moments in the pay-per-view the crowd, like, I think, was tired, but good sports, but definitely not this match. And yeah, and I mean, honestly, there's so many things I love about how they presented it too. I think having Moxley on the announcing team a couple times during this pay-per-view, he's just so understatedly great. I mean, he doesn't mince words. He's really good. And Nigel, oh my God, he is so great. Like, his obvious beef that may be leading to something with Danielson. He just was constantly bitching about him, but then, giving him credit sometimes. But yeah, I just love that. I mean, the match was like these ultimate, like, submission and grappling wrestlers, but then they have this out for Zack Saber Jr. where it was striking that put him down, and he's claiming that that's cheating or kind of underhanded or dastardly villainous. So it's like he gets his out. Not that he lost anything in this match anyway, but no, it's just the well-told tale, I think, that we all expected it to be.
So one question for you, Steve, or Gary, I'd love to hear what either of you guys think on this. I have heard some reviews of this talking about how Nigel McGuinness almost, and this is just an opinion, so take it for what it's worth. And again, I want to hear what you guys think, but supposedly he took a little bit away from this match just because it seems like he's trying to put himself over a lot. And Steve, maybe that plays into a little bit what you're talking about, trying to stir up this beef. But I guess, what do you guys think? Is that actually the case, or is he just a little animated?
I'll let Gary answer that. I have an opinion, but go ahead.
I don't think so at all. In fact, I mean, his commentary is really, really spot on right now. And I think that that's been something that, has been missing from some of the pay-per-views. I mean, love JR, but I mean, he needs to sadly be put out to the Sooner Bills sooner than later. And Tony Schiavone would even admit he's not a he's a play-by-play guy. He's not a color guy. So, I mean, especially when you had that play with between Nigel and Moxley going on during the match, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was really well done. And if Nigel is trying to put himself over, good for him. And I hope we see him again, because I think he would have a phenomenal match with either Moxley or Danielson, whatever the case may be. So I didn't feel like it distracted, because at some level, right, the American wrestling style does not lend itself to this type of old school mat work, right? And so you almost have to have, to keep people's attention, you almost have to be a little bit over the top with the announcing to some degree, because people are used to more action, flying around, all that stuff. And truth be told, I think Saber and Danielson put on, they constructed a very brilliant match, told a really good story. But in the same token, as I was watching it, I just couldn't help but think, like, boy, Steven Regal, I really miss him right now. Like, he would have been perfect in the corner of one of these guys. And, Zack Saber's a bit of a throwback to that. So, but, I really don't, Matt, think that whoever said that, I'm not on board with their thoughts, at least for me. Steve, what do you think?
I 100% agree. I actually thought it lent to the match, and not that the match needed lending to, but I think Nigel and Moxley kind of countered each other perfectly, because, like I said, Nigel was over the top anti playing the heel announcer, and Moxley, it's weird. Moxley doesn't take shit from anybody, and he'll call out anybody. But I also thought it was interesting that Nigel's ripping on his friend the whole time, and he never really goes at Nigel, but he just calmly counters and kind of is like this. It's like a teeter-totter, and they kept it balanced. It was really good. And no, I thought you brought up good points there, because I think the usual suspects, okay, Excalibur and Taz would be fine. But yeah, Tony Schiavone wouldn't really bring much to this match. JR would actually be a detriment, because he'd like just kind of bumble over it and probably call him by the wrong name, like he did a few times. So no, I thought the whole presentation, including Nigel, really like elevated it. And I think they are hinting at something. I don't know if Nigel's in wrestling shape, but that rumor has been percolating that they're gonna do a Nigel Danielson match.
That would be crazy. And I mean, I'm not even really familiar with Nigel wrestling that much. I didn't really look into it. I knew he did, but yeah, that would be
some history, those two.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's wild. Yeah, you bring up a good point, Gary. Like, that a guy like Moxley could, for that style of match, I thought it loosened it up. He honestly made you feel like you were watching a wrestling match with just a badass dude that you're at a bar, and people are just commenting on it, and like, you don't want to fuck with this guy, so you just kind of agree with him, and he keeps it light. And yeah, I thought it was pretty cool. So yeah, I didn't mind it. And I thought it was really cool at the end of this match too, that Aubrey got her
that was
too,
wonderful,
because that doing that match to like be jumping around, checking the shoulders, checking them on her belly like every 3 seconds, like, it was a lot of work. And I mean, it is and I think she knew like what she was getting into, obviously.
right?
She knew it was going to be a workout, and she knew like she had to be probably almost as on as those guys, because she's a very key piece to the whole thing. People are watching her, and going. She's kind of like the conductor of the orchestra,
Absolutely,
a little bit in there. So that was pretty cool that Danielson raised her hand, and you could instantly tell she like was emotional, because she's like, like, this was the coolest thing. And I think she knew at the end of it, like, how well they nailed it, and it's going to be a legendary match, and she was a part of it. So tip of the cap to her. Big stick taps.
Mike, it is her home. Seattle's her hometown. So
no shit, that's right.
yeah,
I
so
totally
there was
forgot
also that bit of it that kind of maybe
That's awesome.
got woven in there as well, which, you know, Danielson and I think Swerve, I think they wore Seattle
Green.
Seahawks,
Yep.
Mhm.
yeah,
Swerve sure
colors, and then yeah, Aubrey's from there as well. So it is really interesting the number of people between Swerve, Darby, Nick Wayne, you know, Aubrey, Bryan Danielson, how many people are from out that way? And, you know, I thought the crowd was really good. I really impressed. I thought they really kept steam throughout the night. And so it's a great, I would give kudos to the Pacific Northwest because everyone talks about, you know, Chicago and, you know, New York and New Jersey, and they talk about those places. But I really thought that crowd was really, really good for the whole night because it was a long card and there was a lot going on.
Aubrey Instagrammed about it. Yeah, definitely echoing what you saw in her like reaction, Mike, that she was super emotional about it and touched that he did that.
Mhm.
Yeah, well deserved. I mean, I'm surprised I actually didn't forecast Eddie Vedder to come out, like get someone to be ushered down to the thing and bet the farm on it. Just another missed opportunity by Tony Khan. I mean, just go
Yeah.
to these homes of these rock star legends and just get one.
You know
You know?
something, Mike, though? Kurt Cobain couldn't do it because he's dead.
Fuck.
He's dead.
Okay, Christian Cage.
Yeah.
Dude.
That
So
was so
funny.
low. That was about as low as it gets right there. That's
You're the R-rated superstar.
Hey Gary, go poop yourself.
yeah, that was definitely should have been coming out of my mouth, not yours. So that I'll give you kudos on that. Was good.
We're getting a heel turn on Steve here. He's
You know,
getting darker when he puts the hat on.
I don't know where you're going next with this, Mike, but I did mention that was my second favorite match.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
don't
we kind
really,
of got to get
really
to
care
it.
what your first favorite one was.
Wow, that's enough.
Yeah, unless you've been under a rock these past few days, you do know that the rated R superstar, Edge, well, better known as Edge, but Adam Copeland came out at the finale of the pay-per-view, igniting the crowd in a way that we haven't seen in quite some time. Major pop, drama in the ring after Christian Cage, Darby Allin, Sting. Who's that dude? Darby's friend. What's his name?
Nick Wayne.
Nick Wayne
was out there. I mean,
the big Luchasaurus.
Yeah.
Luchasaurus. A lot of run-ins. And then to come out with Adam Copeland, Edge. I mean, is there anything left in the tank with these people? I mean, they fucking ignited that arena when Edge came out, and Edge was obviously pumped. He comes out, he's pumping his fist. He can barely contain himself. They're chanting his name. They're loving it. And then boom, we see Adam Copeland come to the aid of Sting, and that was awesome. Paying homage. I was like, okay, we got the babyface Edge here. Very nice. And then tonight on AEW Dynamite, we saw a direction he was going, but we'll get to that a little later too. But boys, what does this mean for AEW? Is this like the biggest get, bigger than CM Punk, you think?
I don't think this is bigger than CM Punk, but I think it's pretty freaking big, especially when you think about, what was it, 2 years ago that Edge came back to WWE after being out for 9 years because he thought he'd never wrestle again. And when he came back a couple of years ago in WWE, he comes out at the Royal Rumble. The pop then was just insane. And I don't think this pop that he got at Wrestle Dream was on that level. But I mean, the crowd was losing their minds, and rightfully so. He's one of those guys. When I was watching this tonight on Dynamite, his first time ever on Dynamite, I was talking to Becky a little bit, just kind of telling her that when I used to watch wrestling, I was probably about 13 years old at the time. Edge was one of my guys. He was one of my favorite wrestlers. Those TLC matches, I'll never forget those. And even to this day, they still hold up despite some of the crazy shit Darby Allin does. But regardless of that, Edge comes out, shocks the world. Again, I don't think he's as big of a draw as CM Punk. I don't think the pop is as big. I'm not going to tune into Collision to see what Edge does on Collision. But I feel like AEW has this huge gap in its roster ever since CM Punk left. And there's a spot for one massive main event guy. Edge is that guy. I also feel like Christian has been waiting to do something really big ever since he got into AEW. And yes, he's had a title match with Kenny Omega. We saw that a couple of years ago. And ever since then, he's kind of dabbled in different things with Jungle Boy. And now he's the TNT champion. And it's really good stuff. And I think when he's put front and center, the guy shines every time. And as a heel, man, I never knew he had this in him. He just gets better every week. And now that he's got Edge standing across from him, you know, we saw it tonight on Dynamite. Edge pours his heart out to this guy. Christian comes back with a little go yourself action. And it's just like, I cannot wait to see what happens with these two. The feud is going to be phenomenal. I really hope at some point Christian comes around or Edge turns and we do get a tag team run with these two guys. And of course, Edge alluded to making an AEW world title run at some point. So I don't think this is going to be a 6-month long, you know, final run or a 1-year final run. I think we get a couple of years out of Edge at this point. At least I really hope that's the case. You know, I'm just praying he stays healthy, that these runs go as well as I hope they will. I'm not sure I'm super psyched up about him facing Luchasaurus in his first match, but I think it's good just to kind of grease the wheels a little bit, see how he does.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's interesting because maybe, and it's possible, Matt, that this is generational differences between where you where you're at and where I'm at. And because I actually believe him to be a bigger star, bigger draw than CM Punk in this regard. CM Punk's absence from professional wrestling left a gap. And yes, people came back, but Edge is the first guy in a while, since probably Bryan Danielson, that's going to attract mainstream WWE fans. And that's not something that AEW has had the benefit of, because Edge literally was coming out of a program and it was a good program with Judgment Day. And so the thing he brings is this real professionalism that I think is much needed right now after kind of the second round of experiment with CM Punk. And, you know, and I wonder to some degree if there isn't a bit of a migration of fans now who are now going to turn in that they maybe hadn't before. You know, as much as I've talked about this, you know, we've joked, Steve and I, with my brother, you know, he is hardcore WWE, but even he is having a hard time not wanting to peek over across the aisle, so to speak, because Edge is a staple from WWE, and he yes, he had a little bit of a gap, but his resurgence was strong, and I would argue was some of the best work he's done since his very early days, you know, when he was doing all those high spots. But his work is still very phenomenal, and I think the introduction potentially of Beth Phoenix at some point will be awesome to the story. And so I guess for me, because of the upside of what he brings in the locker room, I think he is just that much more powerful to the group.
I also think, oh, sorry. Can I go real quick, Steve?
Yeah, go.
I also think Edge is a bigger get than CM Punk, because a lot of fans did turn their back on CM Punk when CM Punk turned his back on the WWE, because some of those WWE juice drinkers, they'll just follow whatever, you know, is said. And like, because CM Punk was shunned so much for so long from WWE too, like they wouldn't even, you know, get out, like pick up the phone for the guy, I would imagine. Those fans are fine with it. But with Edge, he's always been a baby face basically, and he left on good terms. There was no bad blood. So if people love Edge the way that they do and they want to see more of him, well, they have an avenue now. And I think, yeah, you will find some people tuning in, especially as the matches get better, especially if that Edge and Christian thing comes together, and God forbid we see Matt and Jeff Hardy versus Edge and Christian in a ladder
We
match.
will.
I mean, are they gonna do that? Dude, it's
They
coming,
will.
boys. It's gonna be amazing.
TK can't help himself. We'll see it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I am gonna just echo that. I completely agree. I think the only thing that puts CM Punk in the border of being on the same level as Edge is the way he left wrestling and how this will he ever come back. That's what heightened his profile. But as a a body of work, I mean, Edge had a longer, more successful career that dipped into the classic attitude era that we all never, those of us of our age and thereabouts will never forget. So I mean, I think Edge is the more accomplished, bigger name by far. It's just Punk got the notoriety because of how he left, and obviously with the gift of hindsight, I mean, you get with Edge every bit the big name superstar with zero of the head case like tantrums and bullshit that CM Punk proved he never got rid of. So I mean, to me,
I just think how many of those guys backstage are so jacked to be in the presence of those guys, like the young, even from Darby Allin to the Nick Waynes to Brian Cages to thank goodness Wardlow's back, all those guys. Like, how cool is it for them? Like Kyle Fletcher tonight on Dynamite, like, or even, Aussie Open with FTR. Like, I mean, those guys, Kyle's in his early 20s wrestling with these phenomenal veterans. They have to just be so over the moon about that opportunity. And to me, that continues to be the resounding theme of the difference between where these two groups are, which is, I see, in my opinion, the WWE old timers come back for themselves, and then in AEW, these guys are constantly putting over younger talent and finding ways to like bring people up with them. It feels just so much more collegial in some ways. And maybe it's because we're drinking the AEW Kool-Aid. I don't know, but
no, I don't think anybody can rationally argue any major legend that came back and put themselves first in AEW. I think you can go down the absolute
They're giving
list.
back to the business.
Yeah, Sting.
You can tell they're just giving back to the business, and it's because they have control of it. Because if they're going back to the WWE, they're just, it's a paycheck, and they know there's no creative.
Just a couple examples. Sting. He finally shows up in WWE. What do? They job him out to Triple H, and then he loses a match to Seth Rollins, who nearly cripples him because he's overrated piece of shit. 2, and then you get Christian. He comes over, putting over Jungle Boy, putting over Luchasaurus, putting over Nick Wayne. You name it. Jeff Jarrett, every match he's been in, he puts over young people. The Hardys, with the Private Party. It's like every one of these legends. CM Punk did it, even in his head casey way. He put over MJF, Darby Allin,
Garcia.
everybody FTR, all of them. So I mean, that is people can rip on this. Yeah, people can rip on AEW for lots of things, but how they use the old veterans they get is like exemplary. It's at least for me.
Definitely. Yeah, but the match itself between Christian and Darby, though, I mean, that was freaking insane, eh?
Oh my gosh.
Let's talk about that for a second.
What an absolute, I mean, I don't even know what, I think, Mike, I think you might have said it. Maybe there's something wrong with Darby Allin. Like, seriously, like the dude, there has to be something where he literally either we are being worked, that he is that safe and we're just not aware of it. Like, and that's part of, one of the things that I do think, some critics have of, there does appear to be a lot of guys in AEW who like Mark Davis getting in, and John Moxley with a concussion. Like these guys are getting hurt a lot more frequently in AEW because the spots are much higher and much more intense. And quite frankly, because they're not wrestling together as much as the WWE schedule, the guys, it does get sloppy at times. I think, as much as Kyle Fletcher and Mark Davis are phenomenal tag team as Aussie Open, there were multiple spots where they were really sloppy with some of their work, which isn't a terrible thing because to some degree you don't want perfection, but there's Darby. I don't know. I mean, like I really believe that one day. I mean, I don't even want to. It sounds morbid, but I feel like I'm going to watch the guy be crippled on television one of these times because the guy is just what he's doing to his body to entertain us is beyond anything I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of different ways of going about it. There's the role of the baby face that just gets beat down, Ricky Morton, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, those guys made a living out of just looking like they're getting absolutely brutalized. Darby Allin is physically getting brutalized in matches, and just what he does to entertain us is I don't know if we'll ever be able to. I don't know if I want to see it again. I mean, Nick Wayne's got a little bit of that in him for a young talent, but I don't see him taking nearly the same kind of bumps that Darby does, thankfully, because I don't know, Mike. Maybe you're right. Maybe he just doesn't feel pain.
I couldn't agree with you more, Gary. I mean, I don't have a whole lot to add to that. All I'll say is I'm just enjoying every Darby match that I can because I know it's not going to last forever. There's no way that a lot of these spots are being worked. So let's just enjoy it while we can. The guy's going to do to himself what he's going to do to himself. I've kind of come to accept that at this point, and I think a lot of the guys behind the scenes have too. So just, tune in, enjoy Darby, and we'll move on.
That was my third favorite match too. It was really good. And I also I mean Darby, I don't know. It's almost like I was just reading this awesome science fiction recently where they take like human minds and put them into like robot bodies. Maybe he has a robot body. I'm wondering, because I don't have any other explanation how he can land freaking on stairs and not be crippled for life. I mean,
you guys, that chair, that
spot was so bad.
The step spot. I mean, I don't even know how he ended up not.
You can't fake that.
You can't.
That's metal. That's not plastic that they're making out to be metal.
I can't imagine what Christian Cage must be thinking before he's doing it. He's got to be like, why?
Are you sure you want to do this?
Are you sure you want to do this?
I was just about to say that it's like for the other guy, it kind of goes against everything that you're trained to do as a wrestler to keep the other wrestler safe in the entertainment of the match. It's so messed up, and I don't know if they like sign a waiver backstage or some shit like that before they go out and do this, because it seems like Darby Allin, he's literally creating this own new genre of wrestling for people of his stature. And you see this Nick Wayne, he's got a little bit of in him. So any scrawny, small, undersized wrestler that comes through the business and does what Darby does, they will be compared to Darby Allin, which not a lot of wrestlers in the current day can actually say, because so much has happened before this and so much has been innovated off of it already. I mean, Darby's pretty much the only one, other than maybe MJF's mic skills. People are like, oh, if anybody is as good as MJF on the mic, they'll be compared to MJF. But if anybody that's small, undersized, and does what Darby does are going to be compared to this guy, which is pretty amazing. And I just hope he's okay. So
we can't stop him. So like Matt said, he's just enjoying it as long as it lasts.
I mean, Rey Mysterio for us was one of the pioneers of being a smaller wrestler, but
he was kind of muscular.
Yeah. When you see his old WCW stuff, it's pretty amazing to see the transformation that his body took over the years. And I don't think, Steve, I don't know. I mean, you were watching Nitro a lot back then too. I don't think it was at his beginnings in WCW, especially, I don't think he was that much bigger
No.
than where Darby is today. I mean,
No, for sure not.
True.
yeah, and so I mean, to some degree, that, but I again though, I mean, and again, it's generational, but people thought what Rey Mysterio was doing was off the charts in terms of some Hurricane Ranas and
We're
and all
talking
the
about
things.
impact, though. We're talking
Right.
about impact.
Yeah, for
Rey
sure.
Mysterio, like, he was fluid, and like you could tell,
Yes.
like, he was doing crazy shit, but like there was a style to that where it was safe.
There was a
is like
safeness to it, for
reckless
sure.
and reckless and out of control. Nothing between the inanimate object and the body, and that's Darby Allin just hitting it as like a car wreck all the
sure.
time. It's fucking crazy. So,
But you're right, Mike. I think I don't know, or Matt, one of the two of you, there is a genre of this kind of, this kind of entertainment, right? Like people like seeing people falling off cliffs and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, the skateboard lifestyle and those people just are, we've talked about this on this podcast about, those of you that skated, you just come to expect you're going to fall and you're just going to get back up and you're going to go. And so there's just something to be said about it. But in terms of the match itself, like, it was really I thought it was well done. I thought that the spots that were done without the ring mat, like, I don't know about you, but that could not have felt great for any of those guys to take those shots on the plywood. It just goes to show you just the real, I mean, when you think about the mat, you think it's this big springy thing, but it's really not that thick, right? In comparison to all that wood that's underneath, and it just gives you a better appreciation for everything those guys were going through. But it was definitely a great match, and and yes, to some degree, I think Christian is wrestling at a place too in his career where he's about as good as I've seen him in years, right? Like, where his matches are good, he's still taking bumps, and his mic skills are just off the charts right now, and he's just a great heel. Tonight was hilarious. You knew it was coming. But then when you saw it, you're just like, wow, he's just masterful. And that emotion, Adam Copeland talked about that emotion about Sting, right? Like the emotion that comes from a person like Sting for wrestling fans. Christian Cage can grab your heart and twist it in turn and just get you to just want to punch him, and it's really good. And he's really, really, I mean, not for me necessarily, because I love his shtick and always loved heels and heel work, but he's about as good on the mic for AEW right now as anyone, as well as MJF. I would love to see a battle between him and MJF. I think that would be a hilarious segment.
Big time. Yeah, we could see their best stuff. I mean, this is really exciting times for AEW. Steve, you said you had a favorite match. This was your
did, and we haven't talked
night?
about it yet. I mean, we don't have to go into great detail here, but I actually thought Swerve and Hangman was my favorite match of the night. It was just, the match itself was excellent. The storytelling was excellent. The crowd reaction, Hangman embracing, Swerve embracing the hometown, Hangman accepting it and sort of playing the heel at times. And just the outcome. I mean, I probably wouldn't be talking about it as my favorite match if Hangman had won, but I think they made the right decision. That Swerve needed this badly because he's great. He's one of the best mic skilled wrestlers. He's one of the best wrestlers, but he seemed to be on the losing end of everything lately. But to him call out Hangman and then beat him. Sure, the great Prince Nana got involved, but it still felt clean because of how decisive it was at the end. I don't know. I just thought it was masterful work by both guys.
AEW is a
Right.
great way of having a dirty, clean finish in their matches. And I feel like that wasn't even a thing until AEW came around. Maybe it was back in the territory days, but I feel like WWE just did things their own way for so long that we never got finishes like that. And Steve, you know, as you were describing what you really liked about that match, I was kind of holding my breath like, wow, you really just enjoyed this match purely for what it was. And then you mentioned Prince Nana, and then I felt way better. So
Yeah.
you
Prince
did
Nana
not-
is the cherry on the sundae every time.
every time. But I would even argue he's like the chocolate syrup, the caramel icing, the whipped cream, and the cherry on top. Like
Yeah.
he's such a part of that act now that it's crazy. It's so funny how a simple dance took Swerve from being, you know, this villainous, cruel guy in the Mogul Embassy that everybody was always kind of like, okay, where are they going with this? To this act works. And now we're seeing him get into these matches with Hangman. It's so great to see. I'm totally on the Swerve train now. And I cannot wait to see what the next step is for him in this program.
Yeah, the thing that I admired about it was, and it's the pivot that those guys took in the realization that Hangman really was the heel. And I don't know if they knew going in that that was going to be the case. You would have to have anticipated that to some degree, given that it's Swerve's hometown. But the ability for Hangman to switch on a dime and take on the heel persona, while at the same token still being the baby face. I mean, I thought it was a masterful storytelling that those two guys did, and I think they did a really phenomenal job. And I think, you know, one of the things we had talked about before was, you know, you got guys like Swerve and Hangman, and everyone's like, what the heck just happened here? How did these guys get put together? And it just shows you that, you know, there are so many, even back to what Adam Copeland was saying on Dynamite tonight, or what he's said all, you know, for the last week or so since joining, there are so many guys that could get pieced together that could make phenomenal music. And they, you know, this is one of those combinations where I think, you know, it was great to see them come together. They put on a phenomenal match. The build was great. And yeah, Prince Nana, you know, I shared in our group the interview he just did on Talk is Jericho, but Prince Nana is really got a great story. And, you know, he, in terms of how old he really is, like he was back. I mean, he's not a spring chicken by any means. And he started as a wrestler and really got his shtick, you know, going, you know, in ROH, and has really survived a long time on just being a really, you know, good entertainer. And he said about the dance, he's like, I was just in a hotel room screwing around, and I recorded it. And the next thing you know, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going out there and doing this. And look at, you know, it is amazing how
The whole stadium's doing it now.
Yeah, how creative these guys really are. And again, Nana is not a spring chicken, and all of a sudden he's coming up with a dance. You know, it's like, you know, it's great. It was really very entertaining. And so I'll give you props, Steve. I would agree this was a really good match. I don't necessarily think that when I was going into the card, I was as jacked up about it as I was after I saw the match.
Last thing I'll say, and Mike, I'll turn it back over to you. I will never sing Judas in an arena whenever we go to a future show. In fact, I feel like that's kind of wearing off, and maybe we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But I tell you what, I will be doing the Prince Nana dance.
Absolutely, you will. I don't have any doubt you will.
That's the beauty of wrestling. It's like the simplest things are the easiest translated to massive amount of fans, and when massive amount of fans all get on it together, it makes it just so awesome. Like the X on the groin with DX, I mean, everybody was doing that. The scissoring right now, just easily identifiable, copyable stuff. You can see it right now with what's that team that wrestled MJF opening, the Redemption or whatever they're fucking called?
Righteous.
The Righteous.
Righteous.
So
the redemption.
I don't.
Great.
I know you guys are kind of down on these guys. I actually kind of like their shtick. I mean,
I like the
maybe
song. The song's
I
cool,
do too.
but I don't
Yes,
like
I like
this
them.
whatever
I was
hand thing.
I started to like them, but then, like the pay-per-view did them nothing.
well, that's just it. I mean, that was a real. I mean, you want to talk about burying a team? Like, you know, they had built them up for weeks, and then all of a sudden, you know, I just didn't agree with the booking of that. You know, like
I
to
think
to get beat that cleanly, unless there's something going on with
yes,
those two dudes that we don't know about, that are all of a sudden it's going to emerge later on in the story. I would be totally down for that, but boy, you know, I mean that they lost to MJF by themselves. Like I just think that I really like their uniqueness, and they have this kind of like Bray Wyatt-ish kind of thing going on that's, you know, kind of interesting. But I will tell you one other person that really impressed me, that I kind of, maybe I have always been impressed, maybe just because of her look, but Julia Hart, I thought, wrestled
Oh
a
my
phenomenal
goodness.
match, and
Love her.
I was really disappointed kind of in, I don't know.
I don't know if
want to,
she can carry a belt, but she's got the respect.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like she, in my opinion, is way more over than
Oh, for sure.
Statlander.
Oh,
And
for yeah,
and
and
it was
better on
just
both.
yeah, and it's just sad because, you know, for whatever reason they hyped her up about this, you know, haven't lost, and then all of a sudden, you know, I don't know. Yeah, again, this was another booking decision that I just did not like, and I would have loved to see Julie Hart win. I think she has got a great character right now. I think she's over with the fans, and I think that it's just kind of one of those things where maybe to some degree the belt isn't necessary for her because of how over she is, but it definitely wouldn't hurt.
I don't think she's got it to carry a belt, because if she gets it, then it's like, well, if I can't, she hasn't expanded upon herself yet. Like she finally has something, and she's getting like polished in the ring. She's looking better than ever. Her confidence is growing. So I think if you put it on her too quick, it would spoil all of that. So yeah, I like where your head's at. There's no golden goose in the women's division in AEW.
Well, and I just hope they don't do what they do every damn time, where they built her up to have her be a credible challenger to just lose, and then we just don't see
her or something.
Yeah, and then we just don't see her anymore, like for weeks.
Exactly.
Like I hope they actually build off of
There's no way
they never do that in the women's.
There's no way they can do that with her. I mean, people were singing her song. Like,
I know, but they got three women's matches a week. And Shafir's in one of them this week, so it's like I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do with her.
I don't either. One theory I have, and let me know what you guys think of this. So, Julia Hart sprayed the mist in Willow Nightingale's face, and then we saw Willow Nightingale kind of like demonstrate heelish tendencies, and then she did the same thing to Sky Blue. And then tonight on Dynamite, Sky Blue wrestled Toni Storm, and she had a couple moments where she didn't look like her happy-go-lucky self. What if they're slowly behind the scenes doing like a slow roll? All of a sudden, all of the House of Black is women, and Julia Hart's the leader.
Like she's putting a spell on them.
Yeah, I'd be down with it.
I think it'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that would be a really cool angle.
They should do like the Blair Witch Project.
Yes, absolutely.
Hart do like the camera thing and like have it be weird. Remember the Blair Witch Project, boys? Did you ever see that in theaters?
That was a classic.
Yeah, I saw it in theaters when it first came out, and it was freaking weird. And it was right when the internet came out, and like, dude, that was a monumental movie.
It was one of the most profitable movies ever because it was dirt
cost
cheap.
Like $8,000.
Yeah. It was like My Big Fat Greek Wedding. That was another one of those that cost nothing and made a boatload.
Man, wait, My Big Fat Greek Wedding? That was low
the
budget?
First one was like one of the most profitable movies because it cost them. They didn't think it was going to be a hit. It cost like pennies, and it made huge
Whoa.
money.
Wow.
There you go.
That's
A little trivia
amazing.
for you.
I did see a
That's
preview for it
crazy.
recently, and I remember
They
thinking
got a
to
third
myself,
one
looks
coming
low
out. That's
budget.
why you saw a preview.
Ah, that
Like
would
how many
make
years
sense.
later?
Makes sense.
Well, I thought they would have to spend a little money on all the broken plates at the wedding.
They probably
Either,
went to the
There's-
Dollar
There's going to
Tree.
be a lot of takes.
They're Dollar General, yeah.
Hey, you know what I learned on Blippy this morning with my son?
What's
Speaking
that?
of
Or
like
Something
stuff
about
that
feces.
kind of. No, but we put on this race car episode, and did you know that indie race cars, each tire costs $1,500 and they only last for 25 laps?
What?
Wow.
Yes. Dude,
That-
and there's 4 of them, so do the math. What is the math?
$6,000 for 25 laps.
$6,000 for 25 laps, and that's per car, per
Yeah.
race, per around the world. This is why I hate racing. It's a waste of gasoline. It's a waste of rubber. And I mean, the fucking
Putting
Amazon
holes in the ozone,
rainforest-
man.
That's what I'm saying. And then all the stupid diesel trucks that go buzz around these idiots, like transferring the cars all around the country to go around in circles. It's like I like hate racing.
I'm
Just
with
for the
you.
sheer fact of how unsustainable it is. Because you know what? None of those fucking NASCAR people do.
What's that?
Well, if they're fucking burning up the ozone, like wasting all the trees with all the rubber that's consumed, they're not staying humble. They're not staying hungry. And definitely not staying hard.
So they're not Triple H.
No.
Maybe together we can get somewhere. Any place is better. Starting from zero, got nothing to lose. Maybe we'll make something. Me, myself, I got nothing to prove.